And I was just telling him that I'm buying the next one. So a warm welcome to you, Vivek. It's such a pleasure to see him. You know, honestly, as running the Entrepreneur magazine, I come across so many entrepreneurs, but Vivek is a unique blend of being a Bollywood actor, a celebrity, and an entrepreneur. So a warm welcome here today to this
Thank you, Ritu. Thank
entrepreneurial morning. And may I request all of you to give him a warm hand to, you know, he's spared us his time. He's especially come down from Middle East to join us over here for this talk. So we're really grateful that you're here today. And, you know, we love to talk about your journey as well as Solitario, which we just saw briefly out here. So let me start by asking you this, Vivek. You know, trying to do, so I was just telling somebody that for an actor to put a factory would be a really odd thing to do. But, you know, it's always the consumer-facing businesses which are very interesting, you know, for a celebrity to be part of, to be an investor in, or even to be a co-founder. So how do you manage this balance, you know, of being in cinema as well as being in thinking entrepreneurial and crunching numbers on the side? So how have you sort of done it over so many years and done it so successfully?
Thank you. I think a lot of people in the audience have experienced some degree of economic and financial insecurity in their lives. Have you guys experienced that at some point in your life? When you don't have a job security or you don't have, yes. So the film industry has been that kind of industry where one night you feel like you've made it, you've got everybody lining up behind you, spending crores for your time, and then you have a patch, which could be for whatever reasons, but you have a lean patch. And you can tell the lean patch by your birthday. Because on your birthday, when you're doing well, there's no place in the house for the amount of bouquets that come in from producers, directors, you know, co-stars. It's just filled up. And then when your films are not doing well, the number of bouquets start to reduce. And you realize, oh, I'm not doing too well, am I? But the economic insecurity in an industry like cinema is not commensurate to the brand. So brand has basically two aspects to it. The first aspect is awareness, right? You hire a brand ambassador to create awareness about your product, ki mera ye product hai. But the number of years you put into cinema, people are aware of you, right? Some of my father's colleagues, including my father, people still know him, they're aware of him. But brands don't want to go out there and say, okay, can you sell this product for us? They would prefer somebody who's more concurrent. But that awareness is a big equity that people underestimate. And the minute you associate that equity through a channel of monetization by being smart and creative, and especially if it's a customer-facing brand. I've worked on B2C, B2B companies, and it creates a massive impact when you walk into the room and you say, I'm a co-founder or I'm a substantial investor in a company. And then if you learn the whole chain of value building to eventually, like for example, when I started with startups, I set up a startup which was into education fee financing, non-collateralized. That became very big. We reached 12,000 schools, colleges, and universities through a B2B network. But then we went on to connect to the C and owned that data, knew our customer directly, which was 45 lakh individuals who were going to school or college. So that was very rich data, and that's how the company was valued at almost $400 million. But what I realized is that when I leveraged my brand, when I leveraged my association there, it got me two things. One, it had a positive social impact, which was authentic to who I am. Because I like doing things that create a positive social impact in my country from the grassroots up. It helped a lot of people. Like I met a watchman who came up to me, a bhajiwala who came up to me, and he said, I never thought my son could be an engineer. I never thought my daughter could do medicine. You know, you helped me because it was easy lending, collateral free. And one of the concepts we had created was, we had created a zero interest payment plan. For a lending company to create a zero interest payment plan itself was an anomaly. But it worked very well. And we made it work financially. We made the company very successful and created tremendous value out of it. So it depends on how you leverage it. Like if I'd send my team to go meet somebody, they'd be like, हाँ क्या है, हमारा तो ठीक चल रहा है, हम नहीं मिलना चाहते. But the minute I would go personally and grind it out like a startup founder, I would fly in, and whenever I fly personally, I fly first class, business class. Whenever I fly for a company that I'm a startup founder of or co-founder of, I fly economy with the whole team. But that resonance of team building, that hey, we're all one together, that makes a massive impact, not only in terms of team morale, but in terms of a fiscal discipline that you're trying to set up. So it makes a big difference, I think.
I think, the fact that I cannot believe it, you think of all this when you're actually filming a scene. So, that is really the anomaly over here because,
But Ritu, this is what has empowered me today to be in a situation where I don't need to do a movie that I don't believe in or I don't like the script because dal roti chalani hai, EMI bharna hai. Because a lot of people think, अरे actor है, इसको क्या problem है हमारी जैसे. Actors को भी अपनी problem है because they're used to a certain lifestyle. They're required to create a certain perception. वो perception का भी खर्चा है. You have to live up to it. Like a lot of influencers are feeling right now. They constantly need to spend money to keep their, brand equity alive. But I always suggest to people, keep it authentic. Don't try to be somebody or something you're not, because that's unsustainable. Stay with your value systems. And then automatically you'll start building something that people will start to resonate with. A lot of people don't realize, especially, how many of you have B2C companies here? Right? So, the most valuable thing you can do, and I always tell people, purpose before profit. Profit is for a quarter. Purpose is for life. Profit is for a quarter. Purpose is for life. And the minute you create a purpose that's well defined, your tribe starts to form. People who believe in your journey. And they feel like, hey, ye apni company hai. I want to back this company. When Mr. Ratan Tata passed away, from the top industrialists, politicians, down to a grassroots farmer, mourned his death. Why doesn't it happen for every rich man? Because he built a tribe. Whether you invested in a Tata company, experienced a Tata company or not, you had respect for the man because you valued his purpose. His purpose was great. His purpose was nation building, a purpose that has transcended generations of the Tata Group. So purpose is very undervalued. And people don't realize that you can actually economically harness the power of purpose, like our company, Solitario. Our purpose was clear. Two things. One, I felt really impacted when I watched a movie called Blood Diamond. Have you seen it, Ritu? And I saw that I love diamonds, I love jewelry, I want to buy it. In fact, the first diamonds I ever bought when I earned money was for my nani. I bought her big solitaires. And for me, it was more of a form of a blessing, right? To give a thank you, a give back. But when I started reading about and learning about how these beautiful, sparkling pieces are coming on the backs of the tears of African children, on the exploitation of child labor, on the exploitation of a whole nation of, people of Africa, the whole continent of Africa has been exploited for these sparkling gems, it really got me. I stopped wearing it. I said, no, I don't want to ever buy diamonds again. Until I met Ricky, my co-founder, who was here yesterday, I think. And we decided to do Solitario. The purpose was clear. We had only a two-pronged purpose. One, to create a company with transparency, ethics, sustainability, and yet make you feel guilt-free about your bling. I remember writing on the back of at a cafe on a napkin when we were doing one of our early brainstorming sessions. I wrote a line which said, great diamonds, good karma. Right? And that's what I felt. That was authentic. It came from within. And that became the tagline of Solitario. Great diamonds, good karma. Because it communicates the purpose. The second thing that we had as a purpose was democratization. You see, I always believe in the 99-1 rule. 1% of the people had cell phones. So it was something, you saw somebody with a cell phone, you're thinking, A, he can afford it, B, he's willing to pay 32 rupees a minute for a call, right? Back in the day. But that was for the 1%. But where did the industry grow? When 99 adopted it. When now even in the village, somebody has a smartphone and is connected. The same thing is happening with diamonds. Diamonds were happening because it was the only a 1% that could afford it. So, oh, look, I'm wearing such a fancy diamond. Now what's going to happen is you're wearing a natural diamond and you've paid crores for it and it's a big 3-carat stud in your ear. And your Kamwali Bai will also be able to afford the lab-grown diamonds very soon. So the 99%, when they start to come in, you'll start wearing diamonds not just to express that I'm wealthier and I'm different, but because it makes you feel good. It makes you feel happy to wear bling. So it's the democratization of diamonds finally. Never in my life I had thought that there would be a time where an organization like De Beers would be up for distress sale. The guys who coined diamonds are forever. I don't think their story is going to last forever.
No, I think you're right there, and we've seen disruption happening at so many multiple levels, and diamond industry is the new, I think, the new one to get impacted.
Last night, I was with a gentleman who was flying to Mumbai, diamond trader from Antwerp.
That's
And
the mine owner.
from the time that we walked into the flight to the time I sat, he came up to my chair and said, I want to meet you because I want to get out of the natural diamond industry. Please teach me more about Solitario. I want to do something along with you. So the same guys who 5 years ago looked at you and said, ye to nakli diamond hai. Ye to, fake hai. Those guys are now saying, we want to invest. We want to invest in lab-grown diamond jewelry because they realize that's become the future. That's what is going to be creating the numbers. And we're very proud of Solitario. I used to get very irritated about this, Ritu, that this whole white complex that we had because of 200 years of, Gulami under the British is very irritating. You go somewhere in London, even in Mumbai, you'll find outside the store fine Italian jewelry. अरे भाई सूरत में बन रहा है काय का Italian jewelry? हम यहाँ से बनाते हैं and हम यहाँ से export करते हैं. I tell people that we are so disconnected from our heritage. I don't think anybody in this room realizes that for 2,000 years, diamonds were only found in Bharat. Do you know that? For 2,000 years. And that is why you have such a vibrant generational diamond cutting, polishing, jewelry making industry. Till the 1800s, India was the only source of diamonds across the globe. But people forget that. So we should wear that with pride, not just be somebody's BPO, back office, हम polishing, घसाई वसाई करके बनाते हैं और वो fine Italian jewelry करके हम ही को बेचते हैं. So that story is what we need azadi from. As brands in general, we need to take pride in our own Indian brands.
But how are you breaking the perception at Solitario of the fact that diamond is an asset? Diamond or any form of gold was looked at as an asset.
The most key word that you said there was perception. So people have spent millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to make you perceive that the diamond is an asset by creating artificial scarcity. That bubble has burst. Today, as of 2023, 1 in 3 engagement rings sold across the Western and developing world are lab-grown diamonds. 1 in 3. By 2026-27, it is going to be 2 in 3. Now, young people, for sustainability reasons, I met somebody, she works at a radio station, and she saw my bling. I was going in for an interview, and she said, isn't this lab-grown diamond jewelry? I said, yeah, wow, you know about it. She says, she showed me her engagement ring, and she says, this is lab-grown. I said, you asked for it? She said, yeah. I said, why? I just wanted to know how the young people are thinking. And she said 2 reasons. One, it's sustainable. I'm not getting any bad juju, bad karma from, hurting people trying to get my bling. The second is, for what my fiancé has paid, if I had gone for a natural, I would get something 1/3, 1/4 the size.
Yeah.
Now I've got a big, shiny, sparkling rock on my finger, and I love it. So, and I love the line she said. She said she got a certificate that says lab-grown real diamond. So she says that when I saw that, I told my fiancé, the diamond is also real and so is the love.
That's good. So I think overall we're going to see a change of perception, as he said, towards people adopting more. As we've
And
seen
that's the
across
disruption.
startup sectors.
The 99 one that I was telling you
Yeah.
about is the disruption, where
Yeah.
now you realize that this artificial scarcity in the vaults of De Beers that has been held to just hold the supply chain has busted. Nobody wants to buy it. It's up for sale for the last couple of years. And the price keeps falling and nobody wants to buy it because they don't know what they'll do with this whole vault full of, natural diamonds, and they don't know how they're going to get away with it.
Sure. So we'll also talk about, while Solitario is a great passion project that you've discussed with us, and we hope to see much more growth in the lab-grown diamond industry. But we also know that you're a big sort of, you have a big real estate business which is in the Middle East and, B&W. So you want to tell us a little more about it. And how do you, I mean, more importantly, what I would love for you to know is that, you've got cinema, you've got real estate, you've got lab-grown diamonds in Solitario, and then you're also an angel investor, and you've got a bunch of businesses and startups that you invest in. So how do you sort of manage to do all of this, while trying to do justice to each one of these key ventures that you're part of?
I think with the kind of commitment that I generally bring to the table, the most qualified title would be underpaid co-founder. I love seeing what we can do, how to visualize a business like it hasn't been done before. And I think that's where the delta lies. A lot of us try to mimic what others have done. If you look at some of the greatest success stories in terms of startups in India, they're Me Too's, they're copycats. अच्छा ये US में चल गया है, हम भी कर लेंगे. ये यूरोप में चल गया है, हम भी कर लेंगे. And it goes across the mindset, from industry to startups to film industry. For the longest time, we've been chapoing Korean films and American films. And now that the world is totally aware and people expose it, you're being forced to create your own stories. It's not the way to go forward. The West is the West and has created value because they're disrupting truly. They're not just copying something, they're innovating the whole concept. And that's why they're always at a premium, even though we have the power of numbers. We have the power of numbers. We have the power of a GDP that will grow no matter what. We have the power of a stock market where participation is growing at an unheard of pace. My partner here, Priyesh Jain, is sitting at the table. We have a merchant banking company also called Socradamus. And what Priyesh and I thought of, and it's a very interesting thought process for all of you, to think differently. Like all of us have been trained to think, first you scale the company to a really big size, and then after that I will go IPO. Until then, what are you doing? You're grinding in front of private equity. You're grinding in front of VCs. They're taking their pound of flesh. They're putting the gun to your head. They're saying quarter on quarter, give me results. How do they exit? Where do they go finally? How do they get their money back? IPO. Now IPOs have become so easy. Access to the public markets is so good. And public participation is insane. I mean, look at it. In the last 10 years, what's happened? Your participation has been mainly legacy-wise through ETFs and mutual funds. And people are not thinking about this. Now the individual investor, when I started my stock portfolio, I was working under a broker at the age of 16 to learn the stock market. By 17, I had enough capital to run my own stock portfolio, but I still needed my father's name and signature for an account, because I had to be 18. Then I had to go to a broker who charged me a minimum of 1 lakh. To say, भाई 1 लाख रुपए से तो शुरू करो वरना तुमको एंट्री नहीं है. And it was a monopoly. भाई यही brokers हैं, इनके कार्ड हैं, इन्हीं से बात करना पड़ेगा. Today, the combination of a Jio, which has created so much reach in terms of smartphones and accessibility, and a Zerodha, or many like a Zerodha, where today you can create your own stock portfolio. You can start with 1,000 rupees if you want to. You can socialize it. You can share it with friends. You can follow influencers. Make your own, trading philosophy. The jump I see, if you look at any developed economy, 20 to 25% of the people are participating in the stock market directly, not just through ETFs, not through mutual funds and SIPs, directly. This is happening as we speak in India. By 2030, 2040, if we hit that number, we're a $20 trillion stock market. Where is that money going to go? Into business. You're in the best ever time to do business in Bharat. Best ever time. The value creation for the next 20 years in Bharat and optimization of that value is incredible. And when you put a company through the whole IPO process, you're making them conform, go through better processes, compliances, regulatory structures, refinement of the whole process. You start to get more fiscally disciplined in a startup. हम लोग सब बहाना बनाते हैं, अरे यार मेरी तो startup है. I can't even afford these processes. अरे मैं कैसे, एक CFO को कैसे afford करूँगा? मैं proper guidance consultants को कैसे लेके आऊँगा? But the minute you create value enough to be able to go public yourself, you don't have a gun on the head. It's a painful process because it's a rebirth. but you don't have a gun on the head. That's why I tell people, fastest route to profitability, not fastest route to growth. हम भारतीय हैं, हम लक्ष्मी को जलाते नहीं हैं. Burn is not our concept.
So what other sectors are you really gung-ho about in startups? I know you've been a serious angel investor for the last many years, but lab-grown diamonds is something you've identified. What other sectors are you sort of?
I follow Krishna Bhagwan's philosophy, which is when he offered, you can either have me or my army. So if I write a check, I don't look at it again. I forget about the organization. I write a check in an ecosystem of angels who will do whatever work, because my time now has become more and more scarce. And as you get more and more successful, you realize that real wealth is when you're able to buy yourself time. When you're saying today that I don't want to work tomorrow, I want to just spend time with my family, that's when you've arrived. So no matter how much money you have in your bank account, if you have to work because somebody else's pressure is there, then you've not really arrived. You're not really wealthy. You're not really empowered enough and in control of your own life. And I've been through that journey, right? So you have to somewhere cap that. But where I work, like for example, there's a guy sitting in the audience here, there at that table, Pranav Kotak. A super bright guy, used to run a marketing company in Dubai and a bunch of restaurants. I thought it was a fancy combination of being able to create digital marketing and run physical restaurants. Very sharp guy. 5 or 6 years ago, he met me when I hadn't even moved to Dubai. And he pitched me some idea which was absolute rubbish. And I told him that to his face. I said, ye bakwas idea hai. So then he got really upset. He said, dekho abhi isko funding mil gayi hai, isko funding mil gayi hai. And then 6 months later, both those companies wound up in the same sector. I said, this sector can't thrive. There's no sunrise sector here. Everything, just because you thought of it, is not really an opportunity. You have to do a full detailed analysis. I'm a very data-driven guy. Then he came to me with some other idea that was also useless. Then a couple of years ago, he came to me with a whole new idea about coffee and tech blending. So physical cafes with a whole digital presence, socialization, tribe building, community building. I loved it. I didn't even talk to him in 5 minutes. I said, I love it. And then he was kind enough to say, I want you to come on as a elder brother, bring your brand in, help me raise the capital, and are you excited enough to be a co-founder? So I actually jumped on a concept. Normally, I don't even touch pre-revenue companies because the kind of funnel that I receive is overwhelming for pre-revenue companies. So today, with Or Coffee, the company we founded, just on the concept that's been created, the tech that's been built, you've created a valuation of $10 million, even though revenue has barely started, just a pilot to prove out that this works. The tech works, the model works, the business works. The kind of potential it has because of comps in the sector that are already established and the disruption that we bring in to blend something that's not there is a really unique thought process that I feel people should do. I think the reason we got so much investor confidence from Or Coffee was exactly that. So whatever business you're thinking of, think of the final journey, right? Think finally mujhe kahan pahunchna hai. Like when you get onto a aircraft, right? You going to Delhi. घर पे जब आप निकलते हो तो आप ये नहीं बोलते हो कि मैं सांता क्रूज जा रहा हूँ. आप बोलते हो मैं दिल्ली जा रहा हूँ. बट आपको सांता क्रूज जाना है उधर एयरपोर्ट पे फ्लाइट पकड़नी है, सहार एयरपोर्ट पे फ्लाइट पकड़नी है. बट यू डोंट से मैं सहार एयरपोर्ट जा रहा हूँ. इसे मैं दिल्ली जा रहा हूँ. बट इन आवर बिजनेस we start to look at such short-term goals that we forget the final goal. I always tell people once a week, once a month at least, core team should sit together and say, are we on the right track? You set up a vision. Then you set up a strategy to achieve that vision. Then you set up goals that are short-term and long-term, monthly, 6-monthly, yearly goals to achieve that strategy that you're executing, because the pivot can only be at the strategy level. The pivot cannot be at the vision level. The vision has to be honest. You have to be honest to the vision. And you have to keep walking that journey and evaluating हम कहाँ पहुँचे, right? We look at our GPS कि Uber को हमने order किया या Ola को हमने order किया तो वो कहाँ पहुँचा? अभी अच्छा यहाँ पहुँचा है. अभी 3 मिनट दूर है, 4 मिनट दूर है. But we forget our own path because we got caught up so much in numbers and targets that we forget our own path. You have to constantly stay true to the final goal and keep evaluating the shortest route to success from there. My opinion, you have an idea, you have a company, you have a startup, look for the shortest route to success, the shortest route to success, because what you've learned is only return on equity and return on investment. But what we've forgotten is roti. Roti is the most important thing. I've been talking about roti for the last 15 years. Return on time invested. That's the only thing that we all have finite. Every minute that you waste in reaching your destination most efficiently is a minute you could have invested in your dream, is a minute you could have enjoyed your life with. You could have had a wholesome experience. So roti is very important. Ask yourself, am I being really honest with my time? Because unfortunately, when we are young, we think that time is free. Time is not free.